me what you see when you look at me. Do you see another brother lost in these streets looking for his soul?
Trying to find my soul.
Or do you see another brother searching for lost souls in these streets? A street soldier.
Street soldier.
Here to help you get that chip off your shoulder, warm your colder days and sober your drunken ways, and find a way to help you get over these hurdles placed in our path. And this is not meant to amuse you. This is for all those who have questions but are afraid to ask.
I won't be afraid. I won't be afraid. No. When times get hard, you lose your way. Open your mind and hear what I say.
This is a message for the hard and the soft. To those who tune in weekly and to those who keep an eye out for 8 p.m. on Sundays and turn their radios off. The truth hurts. The cloth has been pulled. We're walking around half dead. Use this show as your IV. Alive and free is a new movement. We've achieved self-destruction. A street soldier promotes self-improvement.
Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah. Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah.
Thank everybody for joining me tonight. I see Jamie, I see John, I see Tracy, I see Rico, I see Rob, but I don't see Rob. I just see a name Rob, so I hope Rob is there. Who else is supposed to be here? Let's see. I'm gonna check things off now. Hold on. John. Oh, Corey probably watching. Corey, is the game still on, John?
Game is off. The Niners lost. Corey be logging on shortly.
That was my only concern. See, I mean, usually, we can cut it close, but with Corey, I know he watching that game, right? So he'll be here. And just thank you once again for joining us to continue this conversation. Lady E, let me tell you how why this is tonight, and it couldn't be more timely. And I'll tell you how timely it is. Last week, John put together a program on both sides of the conversation to talk about stopping the violence. And 7 of us were on, and it was a great show. And it was a lively conversation. It was a spirited conversation. It was a passionate conversation, and it was rich, because all of us have skin in the game. They said, we all want the violence to stop. And I thought, let's run it back. Let's keep it going. Let's do it one more time and see what we, and I have a specific way I want to start. So that's why I wanted to do it tonight. Now, what's happens, this stuff happens in real time. So in the week since we've had that conversation back 7 days ago, there's been so many other violent deaths. John, literally yesterday, when I text you, you were at the funeral of your niece who passed away because of violence. I know him as Charles. How do you call him? Charles Wesley Burns, but you call him Wes, right? Is that correct? Is that what y'all call him?
Yeah, we call him Big Body Wes. Yeah.
Well, Wes was supposed to be on the show because I wanted to do was keep us together. I didn't want to add anybody. I wanted the same group, and I'm gonna add the one person I was gonna add would be Lady Estelle. And he hit me yesterday when I told him. He said, Dr. Marshall, my friend was killed last night, right? I don't even know, John. I'm hurt. I was not able to, I may not be able to be on. I'm so sorry. His son plays football with my son. This is exactly what we was talking about last week. And he said he was Pochero Hill. No names are on here, but this is just general. And I asked him, did he know any idea why it happened? And he said, on this situation, no, it was senseless. He took his son to go ride his motorcycle that he just brought him for his birthday this week. I really don't know. I know, and he said so. He can't be on tonight, and he kept saying I might be able to. And just now, I mean, literally, the last text I got, last message, I can't come on tonight. So this stuff is, like I said last week, nobody wins, everybody loses with this. You heard Malcolm get just how 9 homicides in Oakland in the last 7 days, but this is a worldwide problem. It's a worldwide problem. So let's us continue to talk about what can be done, what we think can be done, and here's how I like to start. First of all, each of you introduce yourself and just say what you do real quick. Don't just, this is a program, this is what I do. Just give me a few words, and then I want to ask you another question. So John, real quick, just tell everybody. I never make assumptions when folks watching. What we know, just real quick, just say what you do real quick. Thank you, sir.
John Henry, executive director of Both Sides of the Conversation. I don't know what I do no more, Doc. I do a little bit of everything. I run this nonprofit. I'm many hats, but I don't even know.
I know what you do. You help the community. I'll sum it up like that. Okay, you do anything and everything it takes to help the community. I'm gonna write that down so you can use it next time.
No,
Tracy. Okay, go ahead. Tracy, first time got to meet you last week. Loved it. Love. See, conversating, that's a Black word. Conversing.
I understood conversating. I use that myself.
Well, I know, but it's not really in the dictionary. It's conversing. But go ahead, tell everybody what you do.
Listen, first of all, I'm gonna start by saying my favorite thing is that I met you last week, Dr. Marshall. You worked in my high school.
At McAteer? At McAteer?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did. I finished my career at McAteer. Yeah, loved it.
So loved I remember you was Mr. Marshall when.
Yeah, that's right. I was.
Yeah, so I met you when I was a kid. You don't recognize me because my head is less resembles.
People always do that to me. Don't you? No, but you was only. Yeah, go ahead, honey. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. I'm Tracy Brown, also known as Worldly Sister. I am an artivist, which is an artistic activist and visual artist. I'm a curator as well as a public presenter. And full disclosure, and I didn't disclose this last week, I'm also an active member of the National African American Gun Association.
All right. Well, you stay over there with your gun, right here with without mine, okay?
I never said I had any guns. I'm just
We're doing it.
I ain't saying I got nothing.
We on Zoom, so it's not a problem. Thank you, hon. Rico, what's up, my man? Thanks for coming back. Tell everybody what you do. Love me some Rico.
Hey, what's up, Doc? My name is Rico. I'm with the African American Reparations Task Force right now. Also the founder of Black Community Equity Group. I do violence prevention, intervention, mentor, go into the schools, go into the jails. I'm gonna do a little bit of everything like John and my guy Co-Fresh over there.
Thank you, Rico. Jamie, nice to meet you. Met you last week, and you're in a central time zone. So where you live? Can I ask that?
Dr. Marshall, listen, I want to say thank you so much for having me on tonight. I was both shocked and honored and humbled when I got the invitation. So thank you, sir. So yeah, I'm Jamie R. Wright. I am from Northeast Oklahoma, but I currently live in Houston, Texas. Yes, sir.
Oh,
I'm Central.
okay.
So y'all hear like my voice is a little deep, y'all. I had to take a nap because it's like 10:30, 10:40 here, right? But it's about the community, right? So I'm an accidental speaker, an advocate, and activist. I say that because I did not plan to be a motivational or resiliency and encouragement speaker, but that is what my creators designed me to do, and I'm leaning into it full force because I refuse to not do something on my watch in terms of leaving our community a better place. How I quote unquote pay my bills, I'm an analyst for the United States government. So thank you again for having me.
Oh, you an insider. The spook who sat by the door. That's good. Go on in there, girl. Infiltrate. Thank you. Corey Monroe. I mean, yeah. What can I say? Corey. What's up, Cole?
What's going on? Like, we just do it all, right? But I did manage to put in 25 years with the school district and retired. And Did a lot of community work before that. Now I'm doing some outreach with young community developers, YCD, thanks to DJ. He like, come on, man, you gotta keep working.
Yeah. And Rob disappeared, so maybe he'll get back here and jump back in. Maybe. So I wanted to bring specifically our group back, and we had I thought said a lot of great things last week, but I want to begin with this. What stood out from you from the conversation, Wang? What resonated with you? Each of you, it could be something you said, or could be something somebody else said. But what stood out? What resonated you? I like that word resonate. I use it a lot. A statement that was made, a position that was taken, or anything. I want to start there because we did spend an hour, maybe an hour and a half. We were on it for a long time talking to each other, and I want to see what we walked away with, right? From the conversation. So, John, what stood out for you? What resonated with you from the conversation last week?
I think the most important thing that resonated with me last week was, the common intersection that we all agree on when it comes to mental health, things that we are lacking in our community. I think Rob hit it at the forefront, lack of leadership. And I walked away figuring out how can, I do better? How can I be a better contributor to the solution and not the problem? But Dr. Marshall, I gotta be honest. We got some problems in our community that's deep.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna just tell you, and this is why I tell people, my family not exempt. The funeral yesterday was a mess. It was just a mess. Our young people are a mess. They just a mess. I got a call tonight, somebody got killed. I mean, it's a mess, right? And I'm gonna tell you what I walked away with Robin was saying last week is, and we gotta instill this back. The respect is just gone. You know what I mean? Our young people, they just don't have no respect. And I think Rob hit on it last week, talking about the entitlement that these young folks have, but the lack of respect, I'm done with it, man. I mean, it's just like these kids, they don't have no respect. They come into places, they don't speak to people. You know what I mean? Altercations happening. Like, I understand when people grieving and things happen, the tensions is up, emotions is high, but you got to have a level of respect when you're around people, family and grandmothers. Like, they just out of control. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just no respect, man. I mean, I've been to 2 services, and what I'm seeing is just the young folks don't have no respect. Regardless of how I was when we grew up, it was certain things that we just knew that we didn't do. Hey, if there's gonna be elders, people in here, hey, we're gonna go to the side. I mean, these kids, they smoking weed in the churches. I mean, they just disrespectful. I mean, it was just certain things we didn't do. You get what I'm saying? It just, they just disrespectful, right?
Yeah.
But, as a good leader, as I spoke, I had to just tell them, man, we had to switch the whole services because it was just disrespectful. And again, it takes courage, it takes leadership, man. And it's just like, when we got young people in the space, and this go for everybody to listen, when we got a group of young people, we got to give it to them real, we got to give it to them uncut, and we got to be unapologetic, right? And then to the people that bring resources to our community. And this is why I get so frustrated. I'm on
okay, John, hold on. We're going to get back to that. Let me get through everybody's opening statement.
I'm sorry, but I'm frustrated. Go ahead, Doc.
I know you are. And I know, look, how long I've known you? Okay, so I know. And you're passionate, which is great. Yes, absolutely needed. But I got both of those points I noted. The common, I said interrelations or intersections that we have, and the piece about respect. I wrote that down. Rico, what resonated with you from our conversation last week? What stood out with you?
Well, I think everything that everybody said kind of touched me and had me reevaluate a lot of the work that I do. But one of the main things that kind of that I've been pondering on the entire week is the learned behavior.
Yeah.
I think I know that that's kind of simple, but it's hard, right? Because now you have to unlearn. So I've been trying to come up with something like how do people unlearn the behaviors that they're learning? So I that's what I've been kind of like just pondering on and thinking about the entire week is coming up with a curriculum for that.
Thank you. It's sort of like if you go to class and you ask, what'd you learn in school today? What'd you take away? You know, so that's basically to move the conversation forward. That's why I'm asking this. Jamie, what stood out to you or resonated with you from our talk last week?
So I was just telling a dear friend of mine this today over lunch after church. What resonated the most for me is that the generation that came before us, like your generation, you all laid the foundation. And so for like John Henry, Tracy, Rico, all of us tonight, now it's our responsibility to execute it. When Rico mentioned last week, well, Jamie, what are we restoring these children back to? I'm like, whoa. So in my mind, I'll use my I statements as my therapist say, sure. I have to have a listening ear and heart to pick the wisdom up that your generation laid so that my generation can walk it out and execute it.
Ah, wow, great. Thank you. Corey Monroe. I think. By the way, I like that hat, but go ahead. I just want to tell you that.
Even though we lost, I'm gonna keep it on. But I think what stood out for me is the compassion that we all have for our young people, right? And we still even willing to make excuses for them. And one of the things you used to always say back in the days to us was, you know, a lot of young people are unchecked and unchallenged, right?
Yeah.
But these days, if you check them, you might get shot, but we got to still keep doing what we do, you know. But I just think it's a lot of compassion here. And a lot of us don't play, though. You know, I'm more like, man, they have a lot. We need to get on them a little more, and they need to take responsibility too. But it's a lot of love that the community have for the young people and young adults, because it's just not young people in the madness.
You're right. Absolutely right. Absolutely. Tracy, your turn. What stood out? What resonated with you from our conversation last week?
I think it was something, aside from one of the things that Jamie said about understanding that domestic violence is about control and not about, you know, like rape, and it's not about sex. It's not about, that's an important reminder.
Absolutely.
Conversation, because we can place violence in that space as well, like people wanting to have control over their lives, people wanting to do something to release the energy that they may be feeling, etc., etc. And I know that might sound flowery in California, but it's real. Like, these kids are dealing with real emotional stuff, and they don't have people necessarily to help them navigate the experience of intense emotion, especially multiple loss. You know, I was listening to NPR and heard them talking about Palestinian teenagers experiencing PTSD. And I'm like, what about our kids? What about our community's kids? We have to pay attention to that for them as well. And that's how I started photographing funerals, including funerals of homicide victims. But I think the other thing that stood out for me was something either that Rob or Corey said, and it was about how do we come up with a story that entices youth who may be profiting financially from whatever shenanigans they get up to. And I'm aging myself by using the word shenanigans, but like by whatever shenanigans they get up to, how are we going to give them an alternative that doesn't include the monetary gain that they're getting, but sets them on a healthier path? Because before, you know, you might be able to talk to the little D boys and be like, you ain't making that much money selling dope, by the way. You know, you might feel like you make, but that's not that much money. And it's a lot of trouble involved. You could go to them and say that. But if they're making, you know, upwards of hundreds of thousands of dollars, that changes the way that we're talking to them about what we're talking to them about. And I'm not saying it's a problematic that was resolved by the end of that conversation, but it did really stick with me.
I'm gonna come back to that, because I want to just Rob brought that up last week, and I specifically want to ask a question about that. Rob, you didn't get a chance to introduce yourself real quick, so do that. Just tell people what you do, and then you get to talk about what resonated with you. But you got to unmute first, so we can hear a thing.
Can you hear me now?
Got you.
Yeah, so my name is Robert Newton. I'm the CEO of Black Men Enhanced, and what I do is I save lives. That sums it up in So many words. I save lives.
Yes, sir.
I'm a hope dealer, not a dope dealer, but a hope dealer. I deal hope to the individuals who will feel like there's no other alternative but to do what they do. But what resonated to me last week was actually two things. One, what Corey said, which was the individuals who's actually doing the actual shootings and stuff. We're not going to bring them to the table like we would want to. And I agree with that wholeheartedly because that's a true statement. Another thing that resonated me was what Jamie and also Tracy stated, which is resonating right now, is the mental aspect of this work that we do, and that everything ain't physically, everything sometimes is mental, and how to get to them through a mental aspect. So the mindset game. How can we intrigue individuals to think the way we think, to do how we do, the cognitive functioning mechanism, how can we implement that into today's society and have a good outcome? Mm-hmm. And that's what resonated with me last week.
Thank you. I'm going to say what resonated with me, a bunch of stuff. I really like what Corey said is when he said, and I've heard Corey say this before, everybody's not doing that, everybody's not doing that. And you talked about that, Corey, and I like that you gave love to those people that aren't involved in this violence. But I think the thing that resonated with me the most out of a bunch of things, and I said a bunch of things, was when Rico said, when he was talking about his son. And, he was trying to get his son, to just stay on the right path and move forward and so on and so forth. And he said, I had to send him to talk to John Henry. I had to send him to talk to John Henry. And it was funny what you said, Rico said, I felt a little bad. He listened to him and I was telling him the same thing. He was telling the same thing and I was. And I thought there was so much power in that, in the fact that the information or the conversation or the ultimate goal wasn't different. It was just that he heard it from somebody else and he was receptive to hearing it from somebody else. And I get that because, mom and dad, they're always talking, right? But, and for years when kids would come, Corey and y'all, you guys would get in the room and invariably they would say, well, you saying just what your mama said. Yeah, but you don't want to listen to her, but you're going to listen to me. You listen to me. And I thought that was really, that there was some traction there, some answers there. You heard it takes a village to raise a child, that which is really true. That means the village got to be healthy. You can't have a sick village, because which we've had for a while, going back to, I would say, definitely crack cocaine. But that really resonated with me, and your willingness to bring somebody else into the picture, which I thought was great. But I just said there's something there. There's something there in the fact that if enough of us say the same thing, enough of us say the same thing. And I'm gonna say that when I say same thing, I don't mean the exact same words, but obviously he said what you said, but it was just that maybe he said it a different way. Maybe, if enough of us, and that's kind of where I wanted to, as we begin to move this thing forward, is if enough of us say the same thing, then maybe we'll have a chance to do something about this. Now, obviously, this is a huge problem. And I didn't tell you this story, and as Corey and John have heard it. So when I was a kid, I tried to do everything I could, I'm a kid, right? And you guys know I grew up in LA. And it's the LA got lack in the movies. And, everywhere I went and tried to do something that I shouldn't be doing, some adult who wasn't my parents said, "Boy, you must be crazy." Literally, that's what they said to me. "Boy, you must be crazy." I thought and this was before cell phones, so I thought they had a phone tree. I don't know how everybody knew the same thing, not only would they say that to me, this is old school now, they would discipline me, right? Or they take me home to my parents and discipline me. So after a while trying to do, the stuff I was doing, I actually thought I was crazy because I heard that message from so many people that it was like the community and the adults ganged up on me. Now I know it's a very different time for a lot of reasons, but that was very effective. There was like a norm in the community, and all the adults, everybody treated adults like they were their kids. Now, when I tell this, people say, yeah, that's the way it used to be. That's the way it used to be. But that little vignette, that was it. That was it. He's not your kid, but he is your kid. And so I just thought maybe we can begin to develop messages, saturate, knowing that that's just part of it. So that was my takeaway, a big takeaway from me in our conversation last week.
Can I comment on that, Dr. Marshall?
Absolutely, because that's what I want to. Absolutely, please.
Well, I want to say that that's right on. Being a person with no children, I know that I still have a significant influence over children because I've been not the mama for years. So I'm not the mama for parents. John was not the father. And what happens is they send them to the aunties and the whoever so that we say the same things, like you said, that the parents do. But typically the parents will call and be like, girl, can you tell him such and such? Because he ain't gonna listen to me, but he'll listen to you. And that's just how kids are. I had not the mamas because I had a community around me, and my parents did the same thing. But even in my neighborhood, people will bring their children to my house because the kids want to tell me when they do good things, and they'll ring my doorbell and say, Miss Tracy, I just want to let you know I made the track team. Miss Tracy, I just want to let you know that I got a top prize in the oratorical contest, because they want that encouragement and they want that. So I still, even though I know we're like, a lot of these kids are are disrespectful, and I agree with that. I see that a lot, but I also see something very different. I see other kids who, are seeking that. But even some of these kids that we might have discounted as disrespectful, even like some of the little D-boys in my neighborhood and the boys hanging out on the corner and doing whatever they're doing, they're still like, ma'am, how are you? It's so nice. Yeah. Good to see you. Like, they're very, very respectful and protective. I saw them almost pull somebody out of their car and beat them down one day because that man almost hit me while I was walking around. So they have, it's almost like they form these relationships because I've always approached them with respect and expected respect back from them. I don't know how that works, but I feel like that's a part of it, where they know that they can come to me, ask me for help, ask me about, okay, I got a kid and I want this, that, and the third. And they know they're going to get support if they do something positive. But they also know they're going to hear from me if they're doing something that's of concern. And they've heard from me about their antics, and they've heard from me about riding around on the motorcycles crazy without helmets. They hear from me. And sometimes they change their ways, sometimes they don't. But they know they're going to hear from me and that I care.
It's almost like there's two sides, right? There's the side they show and the side they hide. If I can just use that. Mr. Stell, you want to say something? Then you can jump in, Corey. Go ahead. Lady E.
Oh, I just said bingo and that I care. And that I care. That means something.
That's right. Corey? Right. Mm-hmm. I really think they just do what they see, right? Like John said, they're disrespectful. We had a lot of people in the community that taught us how to respect people, and they don't have that no more. I don't see it as much. They're doing what they see on the, most of the time at home, through social media. They're hearing it through the music, so they're doing what they see until somebody teach them better. You know what I mean? I'm the one that, that I believe it's a lot of hope. I'm riding around with the YCD van and with Quincy, Isaac V, a few of us just riding around. We jumping out, talking to the kids in the major, right in the middle of the hood. And a lot of them, they happy to see you. Of course, they got some jobs and all that, but they do talk. There is hope in the community. I mean, they're surviving. They're doing what they have to do to survive in their way with all the issues that they have going on, but a lot of them are willing to learn. You know, some of them are getting older and they understand that it's real in the field. You got dudes out there 35, you know, and they realizing, hey man, it's time to do something different with my life. But, you know, somebody has to show them, and we have to be there, you know, and then let them know, man, they got to be accountable for their own self. You know, like last week I was talking about jail, you know, they're not playing. Everybody don't get away. You know what I mean? Like, if you do the crime, can you do the time? You know, I was saying last week how some people, you know, we go into jails and talk, do the group. Some dudes been fighting cases for 5 years. It's not fun up in there. It's not. It's scary. All your friends back away. So, you know, we have to let them know about the consequences. There is hope. It don't seem like it, don't get me wrong, but I'm the type, I know kids on both sides. I know young people who doing the right thing and young people who are not doing the right thing, but we have to keep being a voice and not be afraid of them. You know what I mean? And I was walking through the community the other day. I take a walk almost every day, and I was walking the other day, and the brother had a little baseball thing going for the 7 and 10-year-olds. You know, everybody not afraid to just trying to get something going and show them something different. It had to be the most beautiful thing in the world. It was girls and boys playing. The girls was tearing them up, though. All them girls know how to play now. They hit the ball, it's over. Boy, they going on. I don't even think they know about defense. Because once you throw the ball, it's going all over the place. But it shows you that it's hope. And it happened to be like a shooting up the street 2 days ago. Then I was riding down 3rd the other day, seeing Newt standing out right there, you know, so we have to be there no matter what, because we are the ones that keep the community going and give the hope. And we're unafraid. I mean, Doc, you know, we've been doing this a long time. Rico, John, Mrs. Stell, you know, we've been doing this, and we've been doing this a long time. We don't quit. And then if you get somebody like Mrs. Stell, like no matter what I go through, if I hear Mrs. Stell voice on this radio, I mean, on this show, I feel like I'm gonna be all right. So you need that in life. You need somebody to let you know that I'm gonna be all right. I don't know what it is about her voice. I'm like, I'm gonna get through this. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think we need to teach them some spirituality, because a lot of times we got suicide. We don't have no faith no more. It ain't like I had to go to church, like had to. And my brothers in the mosque had to go to the mosque, so we had to go places. You know what I mean? But they not getting that, so we have to teach them. We have to.
You know, I'm gonna make this statement, and I want you guys to react to it. I always open the trainings with the statement about violence, right? And I said, one of the reasons it's so hard to do something about violence is not, and actually you've touched on this, Tracy. Number one, violence is profitable. People make money off of violence, right? People make money off of violence. You could pick arms trafficking, drug trafficking, human trafficking, whatever you want, pimping, whatever you want. You know, people make money off of. You could take people who have prison stocks. They make money off of violence, right? They need the violence so their portfolio will look good. You know, you could take rappers, so all they talk about is violence. You know, they make money. So I say that this is why it's so hard to do something about, because, you know, it's about money. A lot of people believe violence is necessary. Absolutely necessary. And they will justify their violence. I'm sure if you talk to anybody who does something, they will tell you why they did it. Well, he was whatever. People always justify, have a reason for their violence. They believe and they really believe that it's necessary. And this is people believe that violence is natural. So for people not to act with violence, a lot of people believe that it's almost, well, you know, that's in man's nature. I have heard that 1,000 times from people, that it is in man's nature. And actually that's not true, because I have to show them a time when violence didn't act that way. But Rico, you picked up on my thing that it's a learned behavior. And people, it seems to me early on, and Rob, any of you can talk about this, it seems like people learn, if you got a problem, violence is the way to solve it. And either we have to help them either learn that or not teach them that in the first place. Now, that's a very difficult thing to do, because the world is full of violence and history is full of violence. So, and you know, whether it be fighting or shooting, people tend to believe that the way to whatever dispute they have, whatever problem they have, violence is the way to do it. And I know that's what I learned. And you know, I had to Yeah, there were times when that was my first way to handle things. Somebody had to teach me, no, that ain't the way you do it. Now people are encouraging people to do that. So that statement about learning, John, you talking about respect. Yeah, somebody has to teach you that. Either you watch it or you learn it, or you got to pick it up from somewhere. So what are your thoughts about that?
That's a male role model behavior.
Yeah.
Growing up in the home, family instability, family conflict. Yeah. That's how we was taught. First thing we was taught was someone put their hands on you, you put your hand back on them.
Right.
So it have to start within the home, if you're just talking about violence, where it was learned from. And then say, for instance, the first thing that I would say is the projects. When we grew up in the project, either you had a father in the home or you had a mother in the home, and she had her own thing going on, and you might have been a distraction, for whatever she had going on. So she took it out on you, right. As far as alcohol consumption, drug addiction, and then you the baby, so you learned that, how your mother can hit you 1,000 times on one side and it never hurt. And then somebody hits you on the other side and hurt like hell. I mean, that's the learned behavior that we have, is that, protect yourself at all costs.
Agree. Anybody, any other comment? Go ahead, jump in, Jamie, please.
So to piggyback off of what Rob said, and you all, I'm always coming from a solution-based standpoint, right? Because the time is now.
Oh yeah,
we don't have time.
The time has been passed now, so go right ahead.
Come on, Dr. Marshall. And so, and so using the trigger words or the words that will catch people that can make the decisions attention, and to catch people that have the resources that can help our community. Transformative justice, the root of that, the root in the mindset of transformative justice is to do just that. It's like, you don't respond in people that don't look like us. They did a whole study, right? So we know from the gates, there's credibility behind it. The crux and the roots of transformative justice is you can't respond to violence with more violence, because you create violence, right?
Absolutely.
So as I'm on this platform, I see it. I can see from a transformative justice standpoint here today, the funds, the resources, the research available to help move the programs that you all are talking about forward. Because you're right, I don't care what kind of violence it is learned behavior. And I think Tracy touched on this, or somebody touched on this that I know, as a part of our quote unquote reparations. Every African-American Black person in the United States of America, we should receive quality therapy for free, right? That should be a part of our reparations. So it's we have to unlearn. Violence is a learned behavior. So that tells us that if it's learned, it can be unlearned. But the reality is we have to have the resources put in place to do that. And it's not giving the resources to organizations that are not doing the work. Organizations that went to school, or people that went to school to study it, is farming the money, pushing the money to John Henry, to Rob, to Corey, to Rico, the men, the Black men, the men of color that boots are on ground, that need the marketing money, that need the advertising money, that need the money that they'll pay for these thousands of dollars of self-development work that's available for our community, but we don't have the resources to do it. So from okay, we know the problem, what's the solution? It's like, I'm offering this in the conversation, is like, let's dissect the heck out of transformative and restorative justice, right? And Rico, I mean, that is in my core being, brother. Like, dude, yeah, we talking about restorative, but what we restoring these? What are we restoring back to? And we can hone in, and the little people are not my lane, and I stay in my lane, right? So we can we can pour into these little people, and I say little people, I'm talking about nobody ain't paying no bills as a little person. Me, I don't care how old you are, right? If you're not responsible, you're not an adult. We can pour into the little people, but if we're not providing wraparound services, meaning touching the whole entire family, touching the broken father, touching the unhealed mother, I don't care how many resources we pour into little people, it's not going to work. We have to wrap our arms around the entire family as a community and meet them where they're at. As a domestic violence survivor, I now know that the first thing I want, and I think any person that's being victimized by anything, violence, molestation, oppression, whatever, the first thing all of us want, because there's not a person walking this earth that's not harmed by somebody some way. We all want to know that we matter. And we all want to know that our voice matters. And we all want autonomy over our life. So don't tell me what you want. I mean, what I want. Ask me what I want. And then empower me and help me get that. And so we have to have that. I'm proposing we have that mindset when we go to approach the problem.
So
I can get like John Henry.
No. I want to point out. See, I have a dilemma. See, because what I pointed to was an individual conversation that Rico had with John to help save his son or move his son forward. All right. Then there's, and I'm putting that in one box. And actually, that's the box I live in the most. But then there's, we need money from these people to help us. And then I'm gonna say, well, maybe they don't really want to help us, right? That box is there too, right? So then there's that, and I guess you could put, some people are good at talking to those people and getting the money and so on and forth. I'm not good at that, but I'm trying to get to, can we do this other stuff while, or do we have to have the money from people who might not be interested in saving us anyway in order to move forward?
Dr.
And
Marshall,
help somebody.
Listen, my favorite book says we all got to work together, right? There's
Right.
We got the hand in my favorite book is the BIBLE. You got the hand, and the hand can't work without the. So absolutely,
Right.
We all have to. I think we talked about this last week. We have to collaborate, because I'm good in one area, you're good in, and who cares if they don't want to help us? If they don't invite us to the table, we'll make the table.
Okay.
That's what our ancestors did.
I understand. I'm not saying that. I'm just and therefore I'm using that as a microcosm, because while in my mind, while that's going on, that doesn't while somebody's trying to get the dollars, which may or may not come. Wait, we always used to say that nobody's going to rescue us. We've heard we've all said that at one time, right? We've all said that at one time. So whether or not the cavalry comes, like when John was talking about what he saw at the funeral today, is it possible for anybody, any of us, to go on, whether the money's in our pocket or not, to go up and teach those kids something different?
Absolutely.
Okay. Let me let somebody else get in. Let me get somebody else get in. I'm gonna let somebody else get. I'm just sure.
I was gonna say really quickly that's what we've been doing, and I'm not seeing Rob necessarily with a pocket full of money. I don't know what Rob's situation is, but I ain't seeing anybody handing Rob a big giant grant right now, or maybe he has one, but he's going out doing this because this is what he knows to be right. So, we're all, I think we're all, I don't want to say guilty of, because I don't like using these judicial terms, but we're all able to state very clearly that we're dedicated to the work of improving our community, supporting our youth, etc. And we're not even thinking about it as something you get paid for. I think there's something to be said also for looking at the fact that when we talk about the state that our children are in, it is the fault of our generation for some of the things that we've done or didn't do, conversations we did or didn't have. People taught us, I remember being like, I ain't getting no whooping for you. That was one of my favorite phrases, because I knew that there were consequences for anything that I did, and there were a lot of kids that grew up without consequences. And that's not judging, that's just pointing out that was the state of things. But now we're in a position is like, how do we catch those kids that grew up without consequences and give them a sense of understanding that they do need said consequences? I think one of the things that we can definitely do is show them how to disagree, and that disagreement is fine in their interpersonal relationships. How often have we had a conversation with somebody where we didn't agree, and then all of a sudden our argument breaks out because you haven't come over to the other person's perspective? Sometimes you're like, hey, it's okay. You can feel passionate. You can But I catch myself in conversations all the time saying, "Hey, why is you yelling? We're just talking about this. We're just discussing this. It's all good." I think there's something to be said for teaching the value of self mastery, and modeling the value of self mastery, not just talking about it, but also showing it. I think there's also, from the solution oriented perspective that Jamie was bringing up, an opportunity for us to look at existing programs. We're not the first group of people to discuss this. So, obviously there's an Omega Boys Club, but there's also programs like Hidden Genius, organizations like Hidden Genius, which, I know has a certain amount of success in the community, as well as like Sister Soul. They had like rites of passage programs, even
Sure.
programs like the program at Roots Community Health Center, where they have navigators who are brothers who have been locked up previously, folks who have been locked up previously, that help
So
support
Tracy,
people to stay
and
out.
what I would hope, but I know Rico wants to get in, and Corey and Johnny.
Sorry,
I
and
didn't
that's
shut
it.
it.
That's
I didn't
all.
shut him down from the beginning. But see, what I'm hoping, and I don't know if this is possible. I think there are principles of success in each of these programs that can be pulled out and teased out. That's what I mean. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. But well, I'm just saying. I mean, there's a reason all of us have success. All of these programs have success, and they operate on something. And I'm not sure what it is. I know they've done a study on it. But Rico, you jump in. You wanted to say something a while ago. Did that ever change?
Yeah. No, it's all right. It's all right. What I wanted to say was with all learning, there has to be a teacher. And I think one of the things that really attracted me and attracted my son to John was in his teaching, it was no hypocritical information, or what he was able to see visually with John, it didn't contradict his words. Because I've sent him through a lot of mentors, a lot of people who I thought that would be someone that can support him or that can help him. And I think that was the biggest thing, that the messaging stayed the same, not just through his words, but also through his actions. Everything that he said to him, he mimicked in his own behavior. So for me, that's the part that we lack within community. Is a lot of times you got a lot of people who can talk slick and talk good and can talk that good stuff, but the behavior doesn't match all the time. And one time that child or that young person that you're working with see you do anything different from what you said, it changes their whole mindset of how they think of you and how they view you. It took me literally 5 years to get into the work to where I knew I was 100% ready to be a proper mentor or be someone to do the work, because I didn't want to allow my sick thinking or the way that I used to think or the way I used to act to detour somebody from being right or going on the right path. And I know me changing my life, it was going to be a long road, and it was going to be a rough road to unlearn a lot of things that we're taught. So I waited 5 long years to going to Omega, coming by myself, going with young people, connecting with a lot of mentors and a lot of people giving me good information. And I started changing things slowly but surely. And as I changed those things, I was able to step out and step into that leadership that I was supposed to step into. And I think that a lot of times with our leadership as it relates to violence prevention, we lack proper leadership. It's not that it's the leadership ain't out there. We just lack the proper leadership. People still involved, still doing things that they shouldn't be doing around our young people, exposing them to things that they shouldn't be around, saying stupid stuff that we know that we're trying to counter and that we're trying to change. And it only continues to perpetuate the same stuff that we've been going through. If we don't look at this as our Black social construct and see that our construct is falling and we have to reconstruct it, we're going to continue to fail. If we allow these people that are supposedly our leaders when it comes to violence prevention to continue to do the same stuff, we're going to keep failing. We're going to keep failing.
So can we suggest one principle? And we use this good advice, bad example causes confusion. Can we put that down as, if you're going to do this work, you can't give good advice and bad example, and it will confuse somebody. I think maybe if you look at any of these programs that are successful, not hypocritical, that we could put that down as, you know, you gotta, and sometimes in order to do that, you have to do the work on yourself. You have to do the work. So if I say Rico's name, it will be like, it ain't tainted. If I say John Henry's name, it's not tainted. If I say Corey Monroe's name, it's not tainted. And you know what I mean by tainted, right? If I say Jamie Wright's name, it's not tainted. If I say Tracy Brown, if I say Rob Newt's name, it's not tainted. So, and I do think that is a huge issue with these quote leaders. And I don't even call them leaders. See, I don't even, but I know the position a lot of them put themselves, or people assume, is that people go, I don't know. Wait, are you sure? Are you right? Are you? Anytime you do that, that's not good. That's not good. So I'll throw that out. Good advice, bad example, cause confusion. And John, you did that because John wouldn't confuse nobody. He is what he says. He says what he is, and that I think that's imperative. I personally think that's imperative for doing this work, because you have to obviously be the example. If you talk about don't fight, violence isn't the way to go, and you out there, people gonna be confused or begin to justify it, and that's a hard thing to do, because that means that you got to be, you know, and I agree with that. Anybody else want to jump in? John, you haven't said a word, but you can just certainly jump in. And Rob, come on back.
Go ahead. I'm just processing, you know, just thinking about, you know, all of this. To me, you know, what is success? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, the models, the data, you get me? To me, it's where my community at, right? To me, nothing's effective if my community still suffers. So I can't take no wins. I can't clap my hand, right? And I think Rico brought up something last week that I need to, like, I was touching, because Rico said, you know, when things happen, I was looking for resources in my community, folks to help me out with therapy, and it wasn't there. I've been to these 3 services this week, and they wasn't there. So if one person in the community say it, 2 people in the community say it, 3 people in the community say it, and I witness it, we got a problem, right? And we gotta really have a real conversation, because everybody in the Black community is quick to say mental health, mental health, mental health, mental health, mental health. How do we get the people to that service? How do we get the people to buy in if the people that's providing the service ain't there? And I heard Jamie say this earlier, meet people where they at. And I for y'all on this panel, I understand what we're saying, but I'm in too many meetings with too many of our leaders, too many elected officials, and I keep hearing people who come on, we got to meet people where they at. I'm at a funeral with 300 kids, K-age kids, 15 to 28 years old. Where is the mental health department? Every young person that got up there and spoke said, I'm hurting. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I'm dealing with all this emotion. I'm enraged. I'm ready. I don't know if I'm going to make it. No mental health people there, right? So how do we become, I don't even know how to say this. How do we become proactive in a way that we're providing that service for our community? I keep saying, like, this country, this community, Black community, this violence in our country is not going to change until we invest in mental health services like we invested in the COVID. Like, it's going to take that type of approach, that type of legislation, that type of commitment to really impact the thought process and what's going on in our community, because self-medication ain't working. I told the kids, I stood up there and told them, you can smoke all the weed you want. You can drink all the drink you want. If you don't deal with the trauma and what's going on deep, we're going to continue to have the issues that we have until we get the adults in the community to hold the young people and their family members accountable for the things that they do. It's going to keep happening. And for the people that sit back and say, oh, well, this ain't my family, this ain't my problem, continue to wake up every day. And if we don't come together as adults and as community, it's going to knock on your door too. And that's just what we got. That's the real conversation on stopping this violence, because these kids don't have a way to manage their emotions. And we got to get these people in the community. We have to be intentional on how we set up these programs. The community don't stop. 5 o'clock on a Friday is the start of the weekend for the community. We need mental health support 24 hours. We need crisis support 24 hours so that folks can have access. And then meeting people where they at is, we got to bring these services in the community, in these hubs, in these SF Hope sites, directly to the people, whether it's mobile support. We got to put it in their community. These folks ain't walking. Oh, well, these people are down here. Well, they got to walk through 5 turfs to get down and get some services. And telling people come to my office that's not serving our community. You know, I'm just being real. I hear, oh, they got to come down here and get some of the service. No, we got to bring the services to our people. They in the community, they in these projects. These folks are scared to walk. The grandmother got up. I'm scared to go to the grocery store. These young people, John Henry, they outside shooting in front of me. They shooting dice in front of me. They won't let me walk through. Like, come on, what are we doing? We got to do something. I mean, it's more than just meeting people where they at. It's more than just, you know what I mean? To me, success is when our community starts to change. And I know 1 organization, 10 organizations ain't gonna change, but we got to see some progress. So to me, I don't care about the data on the grant. Anybody can write up great data and say, our program is successful. We got this many people, but do we really have these people? Because I'm telling you, these people who talk about they doing violent. I was in a violent prevention meeting with Supervisor Dean Preston last week. All these people in there, I ain't heard of these people. I said, wait a second. Who is all these people? I ain't heard everybody doing violent prevention. I ain't seen them nowhere. We got all these pastors in here talking about all this stuff, what they doing.
John.
I'm just like, come on, y'all. We got to do better.
John, part of the reason everybody calls everything violence prevention. So I learned a long time ago, that's one label they can slap on anything to get the money. Taking kids into the mountains is violence prevention. Everything is violence prevention. That's the biggest catch-all phrase in the world. But let me get to Corey and get to Rico, and because their hands are up. And you actually use the hands. That's good, because I never use those. Go ahead, Cole.
I love John. John passionate and Rico. Sometimes I disagree with them. No, we got mental health people riding around in a red van all the damn time trying to talk to people, but nobody want to talk. We have Destiny at YCD. She try to set up meetings. Young people don't want to talk, which I understand because you don't want to talk to everybody. You don't want everybody, everything ain't your business, but it's about finding a way to work it up. But we do have therapists in Bayview Hunters Point that are trying to reach out. I'm not for the where it's like it ain't nobody. It's hella people. You know what I mean? Sorry for cussing, but sometimes we give so many excuses. It's no place like San Francisco with these services, but we have to reach out too. You could come say, hey, Corey, I got some mental health, but I'm sitting there telling me I don't want to talk to you, which is good, but I can't say it's not there. You know what I mean? I'm a person that had mental health services when I lost both of my parents. It was there in the 80s, you know what I mean? But I had to go down to the mental health place. They wasn't coming right to 32 West Point. Hell no. I had to go down there, that little building. I was hella ashamed running there. And like I said, I went to Van Ness and met my Jewish buddies, and they was like, hey, we just here to see the shrink. That was just the thing to do. But there is help. I think in San Francisco, we just so spoiled that we feel like it ain't no help. We got more help than anything. But a lot of times we don't reach back out. You know what I mean? People are trying to reach out, but there's a halfway thing with this. When people reach out, you have to reach back out. I mean, people can't make you talk. They can't do everything for you. You have to do things. We have jobs that actually, they'll give you a job outside your front door. That never happened in the 80s when I was working, man. And to bring you the check only in San Francisco. I was hella mad when we had to bring them. We got to bring them the check too. Some got to give. This ain't gonna keep working. So I feel like we have a lot of services, people helping, but I do agree with John. We do have a lot of people who are not doing the work. That is true. We have people getting so much money and they're not doing the work, but at the same time, we have a lot that are doing the work. Another thing, we have to stop being afraid of young people. We always on the radio and Zoom talking about the work, but we ain't doing the work. You know what I'm saying? Other than what we really do the work, us. Right? But a lot of people, hella Zooms of doing this, when they come Monday morning, they sit in that office all day and act like they talk to Ray and Pookie and ain't heard it. Ray and Pookie ain't seen them all week. But I really think we have a lot of services here that people not reaching back out to. I'm not the one to give all excuses. Some of that is BS, man. They're not doing this and that. We always blaming somebody else. Sometimes we have to take the blame back when we in the community too. We give out stuff all the time and people won't even come get it. Then we drop it off. Somebody stole it from my house. I can't stop them from stealing it from your house, but we have to be accountable too, because sometimes we make so many excuses in San Francisco. Go to Georgia and see if they had this. I was in Louisiana a few years ago with my family and asked them about some services. They like, what the hell is that? You better get a job down there at Walmart. They don't know what the hell a service is. You know what I mean? They just don't. So I feel like we hella spoiled. I don't know what else San Francisco could do personally. You know what I mean? There's too many programs out here.
But Corey, and I'm not saying that, Corey, and I agree
Rico.
with those people in the community, but what I'm saying is, if you got 5 or 6 kids standing on the corner and you're trying to say, let's talk about mental health, you go get that reaction, right? But what I'm saying is, when we at the funeral home, when kids are vulnerable, their emotions are high, they're struggling, they going through this thing, and they might be willing to talk if we could pull them to the side, talk where they at. That's all I'm saying. There's plenty of services. I'm not saying we don't have services. We got plenty of services in San Francisco.
So maybe, John, maybe
we're not executing.
But maybe one of the things we can do, if that's a concern, is design it specifically that we bring those mental health services to that raw time when they are exposed. I never really thought of that. If you're gonna have a funeral, that's the last people would think, really. But that might be the best time. Maybe that's when you should have alert people who do provide mental service to have them at the funeral at that particular time. Maybe that's an idea that we can bring. Because I don't think I think people out of concern of what's going on wouldn't necessarily think that's the place for them to do that. But maybe that's something we could jot down. And when there is a funeral, they're in that and they're there and the emotions are raw, because I've seen that, I see shootouts at funerals. So, we can bring people there to have them talk to the kids right here. That's a thought. Never really thought about that. That's a good suggestion maybe to follow up on. But
Doc,
let me get to, go ahead.
Doc, I want to say this to you, Doc.
Rico.
Because I'm like solution-based too. The way you do it is you instrument it in the employment sector. Every 2 weeks, Cal OSHA makes an employer give safety training to employees. Why we can't make mental health a part of that 2-week training? We got young people working at YCD, they get a check. Why we can't take 1 hour out of their day and part of their job is mental health? That's how you get it to the people. You got to incorporate it with the money. We know our people, we work off money. So my thing is, how do we be intentional, legislatively, community organized? Why? Because everybody talking about Black folks need mental health. You got to put it in the pay. Put it in there like that.
So wonderful suggestion. I ain't good at that. You good at that. I'm not. Like you said, we all a team member. I'm not a policy guy.
I'm saying they're already doing it. They already doing it.
But let me get
They are
Rico.
trying to provide mental health while they're at work, but I can't make Mookie and little Uzi Clip come to the hour session I set up.
Let me get to Rico and then Rob. But I'm writing all these ideas down.
I was just gonna say it's an and also. So I think that they both saying the same thing. So
right,
there is a lot of services, but there is a lack of accountability when it comes to how they navigate and how they communicate within our communities. Good intentions with and I see this all the time. Like they have terrible impact or no impact at all, and they get buddied up with other nonprofits that are bigger, and all they do is award each other, and they play the politics. Then we have the politics within the work that we do, and it doesn't help. It doesn't support our community. It doesn't do anything at all for our community. There's no levels of accountability on no level within our community. So we say mental health, that's only one part of health. We got to say wellness. Wellness is the overall health of a human being. Social, emotional connection with that's everything. And there's no accountability on no levels. We go into community, it's toxic. That's unhealthy. We the number one who dying of all things that we consume. Alcohol, we the number one consumers. We the number one consumer of tobacco, marijuana, everything. We the number one consumer. It's killing us. But we have no Black institutions to counter that at all. We the number ones who drop out of high school. We the number one who don't graduate college, right? So we don't have an institution to counter that at all. But when we did have an institution, and I know Dr. Marshall, you might know this, but back in the day, the church was one of the anchor institutions of the Black community. I don't know if anybody recognized, but in after the urban renewal in San Francisco, in the Fillmore, the Black institution, it changed and it became the nonprofit. So the nonprofit now is the anchor institution that speaks for us. So when we talk about services and we talk about, oh, we're gonna give all this money to the Black community, who's speaking for us? The people who want the money. So then I look at it now and I be like, you know what? Look at all these hustlers. This is a new version of the dope game. This is terrible. And no, and I mean,
no, you're right. You're not. Look, you are absolutely right. And see, my whole point is everything you said is true. It's not true. Everything about America is true. The question is knowing this. See, and that's a difficult thing because I had to figure. I knew all of this, knowing this. Everything you said, everything. Can you still help somebody stop the violence? Can you no, I'm not saying that. See, everything you're saying is true. I mean, going back to, America's born of violence, slave, we face everything, crack cocaine, whatever it is. Can you, people, not just you here, can you stop the violence? Now, if you put violence with everybody, maybe not. But then it goes back to the question of John Rose, how do you define success? That's a big deal. If you're going to be in this work, how do you define success? Rob, you want to get in? Go ahead.
Nobody put water in here.
I know.
Yeah, I wanted to get in. I wanted to just say that, I'm still going with leadership as being the major one priority. And then you have to have a carefully selected personnel that with the ability to engage with the targeted population. And then after that, then I think you need to have a collective and collaborative force behind you so you can do some intensive counseling and have an intensive mentorship so you can build a rapport with the targeted population. And then I also believe that, a lot of the programs, build curriculums around things that they think the kids need to hear, but I think a real life curriculums need to be made, no hypothetical situation, just real life evidence-based, curriculum need to be made in order for the kids to, to have some type of idea and transparency on what they're facing. I mean, like I always state to my youngsters that you are the targeted population and that, you really a liability to the culture itself. We're doing everything we possibly could to possibly save a life. And then at the same token, we still have to have the parents. We have to have the full investments of the parents. I mean, we keep making up these ideas and suggestions on how to interact with other people's kids. And I think Tracy said it, one of the ladies said it, that, we have to have a wraparound services for the whole family so that the kid don't have to feel entitled, but they'll be feeling grateful towards their parents' accomplishments. Like that one appreciates one thing. And then in order for us to have an astronomical success rate, we have to have the whole district or the whole community or the whole city, supporting this cause. This little old minute group that we have, it'd be very impactful if we could reach a broader audience with the same message. Whatever message Rico was able to, whatever message John Henry was able to intrigue Rico's son, that's the same message we need to give all the kids. We need to find out what was that conversation. Can we internalize it? Can we actually use some of that to pass it down to some other kids? My success rate normally has to do with transparency. I don't sugarcoat anything that I say to the kids. I keep it 100% authentic with them. If I could do something for you, I could do it. If I can't, I can't. I don't tell them that hold on, let me think or let me figure something out. What I'll do is I'll go do it, find out the resources, then do a soft handoff if I can't possibly service the kid myself. And I think that we need to put our pride to the side sometime and realize that, you're not eligible or you're not, able to help that kid in the capacity that you want and to pass to someone who else have the meaningful resources to do it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, look, absolutely. let me just
one
throw
more
this.
thing, Dr. Marshall. One more thing, Dr. Marshall.
Go ahead.
The thing, the real reason I think that we having such a hard time with our kids is the lack of social competency and cultural competency. You know, we just think that we know, how everything is. And that's my piece.
I'm gonna throw one term out. Go ahead.
One thing too, we need to listen to the young people. Like, I love to talk, but we need to listen to what they want. A lot of times we talking. We have to listen to what they want. We never ask them, what do you want? Like, that is so important. And they so intelligent. Like, I listen to young people. They so intelligent. They so smart. And they living in the now. We like to talk about, man, I remember back in, it's not that year right now, it's 2022. They got hella stuff going on we didn't see. You know what I mean? I didn't see half what they seen. Thank God, I wouldn't want to. We didn't have all this, but they are important. They're magical. They have some great voices. So we need to sit down and say, what do you want? That is what the most important thing that I think. I get what we want them to have and how it used to be, but what do they want? What is it that the young people want? And I think we need to have more conversations with just sitting there and letting them talk.
I believe that young people want to be heard, and I believe that young people want guidance. And the two go hand in hand. I agree with you. So let me just throw this one thing out, leadership. And I hear this all, and again, I admit I'm in a different, we all come together. How come everybody can't be a leader? I hear that a lot of times from leadership. How come leadership is out there, but not leadership is in here? I hear that a lot. Why isn't everybody a leader? Why isn't, and remember, I'm doing this with you, but I do this with everybody I talk to. I'm just having to have 6 of you here because we started last time. But that message that Rico gave John can get, everybody can get, pass it on, that kernel. But this leadership thing, why can't we all be leaders? I'm saying we can all be leaders. I'm not about formal leadership. I'm not talking about designated leadership. That's not leadership to me. I don't even believe in that. And that's why what Rico said about good advice, bad example. And if somebody is not doing it, I believe people just need to be encouraged in their own leadership, where they're all, so the outside, I'm not into the outside. I'm into the inside. I'm very much into the inside. And John, you said, and you know how I feel about this, when you said, what do you define as success? I believe in every kid I see, there's a John Henry and a Corey and a Rico. Because you used to be part of the problem. Corey was never part of the problem.
And a Rob.
And a Rob, right? So
I was a square. But ran with the thugs.
But Corey, no, here's the thing. With you were what we would have preferred. It's like preferred them to be, so we wouldn't have to rescue them, right? Because then we would have to, because when you in that mindset, you do damage. So what we particularly want is for them not to have gotten that way. It's like getting sick. You don't want somebody to get, severe COVID and come back. You try to get COVID in the first place. But the point is, there's a John and a Corey in everybody, in every young person. Absolutely. So for me, when you say what makes success, you guys are the success. You guys are the success. Now, whatever it was that got you to where you are, that to me is what we need to be given to them. Because if it worked for you, it can work for them. You're not any better. You're not any different. You got in a mindset that you at some point decided to dare to be different. Corey, you were never afraid to be different. So it's not that complicated to me. Is it hard? Hell yeah, because it's like an epidemic now. So when you say what's success, every time somebody but does not use violence, that's success for me. Every single time.
Tracy and Jamie had their hand up. I want to make sure they see.
Thank you.
Our brown hand, Corey, Rob, brother, reach out to me.
I don't know how to get a brown hand on this thing.
Right on. I'm gonna show you. Hover over the emojis, and it'll have little shades. Teach one.
Don't give him a course now, baby. You gotta talk. Keep going. Go ahead. Your turn, Jamie and Tracy.
Tracy had her hand up first.
Okay.
Thank y'all, and thank you, Brother Corey. We appreciate you. While we're also looking at our definition of success, I think it's also for us to important for us to define violence, and that's something that we talked about the last time. So when we're talking about violence, we're only talking about violence as if it exists in our community, but we have to look at the connection between state violence and community violence. And how violence happens in proximity. People are going to hurt other people that they know that there may not be punishment for them having hurt. So, you know that you're going to get a much more severe penalty for hurting somebody outside of your own community than you are for people who are inside your community. So there's something to be said for paying attention to the lack of punitive measures, lack of investigation of, homicides that happen in our community, and part of the devaluation of our lives, devaluation of the lives of Black women, and how many Black women are disappeared or treated like we are less than, we don't matter, whether that's in the doctor's office or whether that's in the schoolhouse or whether that's in the street. So I think that's important. Also understanding and the value of and uplifting the practice of our traditions. And I don't just mean like traditions that we may have to try to mine by looking at classical African societies or whatever. I'm talking about even African American funerals. One of the things that I've studied for many years is African American funerals and the structure of them, how they relate to classical funerals and classical African societies, and they correlate one to one. So you can see, actually, if you describe a funeral for the Dogon people, which is one of the most ancient people, groups of people on the planet, you actually see the structure of Dogon funerals in African American funerals. And part of that has to do with the fact that we mourn openly and together. The falling out at funerals is part of the healing process, the wailing, even coming together for a repast in a certain way, understanding that there are parts of a funeral. There's the dirge, there's the sort of second line, so to speak, in the celebratory aspects. But all of those things are healing. Even pouring out a little liquor for your homies, which is actually libation. Like having this very clear understanding of the fact that we have traditions. They're important and they serve us in our healing process. I'm not saying that's the only thing. I'm saying
no, you're not.
I'm saying that the removal of
I agree with you.
Cultural traditions is definitely going to affect us. And also the last thing I'll say is I think it's important to change the narrative. And that's one of the things that I think I've heard Corey saying a number of times. Like, we have to recognize also our community ain't broke. That there are a lot of resources out there for us to access. Now, some people might not know exactly where to access them. I think it's true that there are a lot of people benefiting from claiming that they're doing certain work in our community and they ain't doing nothing. But also there are a number of resources out there that are available, that are available to us. But the reality is, we're the new pawpaw and we're the new big mamas. We're growing into those roles as the honorable elders in our community and in our families. And so we have to take it upon us to heal ourselves and be what we need in the community.
So if I was making this list of things that are successful, and I would put and it's on my list, it's history and culture. I think history and culture is a big preventer. And I think it's a big rehabilitator. What I mean, I got this brother with it. You knew what I knew, you wouldn't do what you do. And this thing was, what do you know that would stop me from doing what you're doing? He didn't know what I knew. He knew nothing about history. He knew nothing about culture. He didn't even know there was a time where African people didn't use violence at all. What? He's like, what? You mean there was a time we didn't use violence? Now we operated on a whole different mindset. So I would put that in the prevention piece. Now, I happen to know that prevention piece, and a lot of people don't know that prevention piece. People don't know. That's why when people go into prison and they start to change their mindset, they start to read, they start to understand, that. That's in my playbook, all right? But I'm just saying, I'm trying to look for these things that we can, and not, it won't work with everybody, but what, all this stuff always, my whole thing is giving some people different to think about. And this is a way to get them to think about, because when Andre Akins told me, what I'm talking about, what do you know that I know that will stop me from selling dope? Because I'm good at it. that was powerful for him. He really didn't know that he was colluding in his own oppression, right? He was trying to make money. So I agree with that history piece. I agree with the culture piece. I think it's huge. I think it should be in the playbook. I would offer that, both as a prevention piece and as a rehab piece. And that comes from watching guys learning in prison and be saying, well, I had to come to jail to learn all this. Well, you should, but that's something that we're not taught. You know, this is,
Doc,
I'm gonna give.
Doc, you triggering me. You know you triggered me right now, Doc.
Well,
I feel like Black folks know too much history, too much religion, and too much Democratic Party. That's our problem. You know that.
Well, they don't know.
That's
this
real,
history.
John. I respect that.
They don't know this history that I'm talking about. Not that history. This history I'm talking about. But look, I'm going to give the rest of the time to Lady Estelle, because we are right up against it. She is the one that listens to all these conversations and is able to sum them up in a way that I cannot. And so, Lady E, you go right ahead.
You know, it's a good thing I was taking notes, Dr. Marshall, today, because this has been a very powerful and moving conversation. And I'm just hoping that there were so many people listening, and all the people that you talked about that should have been listening. I hope they were listening, because you had something to say. These are the times that try our souls. What is that? Kids may say when they're convinced that they grown. Driving, smoking, selling weed, packing, cracking, still out in the street, but the streets are a bit different. Although the same, young people are still dying, and things still need to change. Church has no meaning like it did before. Elders don't matter. They're often simply ignored. Parents busy working and fussing too, trying to teach them and guide them and chastising them too. Where are the ones who show the youth how to be, who keeps them in touch with accountability? Who are those that the kids can hear, where the message gets inside and the message is clear? There's nothing more valuable than an individual's life. And when we think about value, is pouring value into our youth what we do? When they are with us, what do they see? Are we consistent examples of what we say they should be? Do we take the time to really look and see what's driving the behavior? What's underneath? The journey must be taken. We must get inside. We've got to do the work. We've got to save their lives. Mental health and overall wellness is what our community needs, reaching a broader audience to reach all the kids, included in the workday if that will meet the need. A curriculum that's real life, real time, that will open them up and help them see, will help them heal physically, mentally, spiritually, and culturally. Yes, you are the big mamas and dads and uncles and aunties. And you've got to know that you have within you everything you need to be, do, and show what our people need. This is Lady Estelle asking you to consider all of this. She's back. It's been a while.
Thank you, Lady.
Thank you, Dr. Marshall.
So, you know, these conversations to me never stop, and they continue. And as much as anything else, they continue so we can keep doing the work. And you know, there's people actually quit doing this stuff because I'm tired. But you know, Harriet Tubman get tired, so you know that's my role model. To by herself, lady, without help from nobody, went into the South to free slaves. That's the essence to me of the work. You know, no money, no system, no nothing, no this. I just want to free people. No AKs, no posse. There she is, Harriet. So that to me is when the cameras are gone, She was doing the work. This ain't camera work, is nothing. But I do believe there are certain things that we can pass on to people to just help them keep moving forward. And I think we've heard it. I heard some of it. I personally think history and culture is important, but we've also heard it. Listen to young people. I think young people, I heard the two sides thing, which I definitely agree with. I think they act one way or another, and then we show something else. I think is there, and celebrate those young people who aren't doing it, because they don't get a lot of love. They don't get a lot of love. Our concentration, even in our own home, sometimes is on the ones who messing up and the ones that, well, maybe I'll get attention if I mess up, right? So, but success. Anytime you stop something, that's a big success. Because I learned one time, I used to go by 4. One person can affect 4. The person he kills, the girl he impregnates, the child he brings into the world, that's just 1. 1 times 4. So anytime somebody doesn't do it, that's a huge success. Because you can bet to me they were probably taught early on, if he hits you, hit him back. And it goes on from there and there and on there. So keep up the work.
I forgot
Lady
2
E.
lines.
Yes.
If I may.
Oh, please. Of
I
course.
just got to say, so I'm going to say it again, not the whole thing, but I'm going to say it again. I missed this part. Provide the time to listen. Because see, I'm an old lady. This is in there. And I can tell some stories. Sometimes they ain't trying to hear what I got to say. And I recognize that. But what's most healing for young people, because I work with young people, provide the time to listen, to hear what they have to say. This is an opportunity for them to let it out, what's really going on for them today. And then just to finish it one more time, because you are the new big mamas and the dads and uncles and aunts. And we've got everything we need. You got everything you need to be and do what our young people need. Thank you.
Lady E.
Go ahead, Soror.
Lady, that's what I'm saying. Go ahead, Lady E, you didn't say don't wait till the storm pass, dance in the rain. That's what I was waiting to hear.
You know what? Dance. And when you can learn how to dance with that kid, and I tell you what, because I see them in the store sometimes, and bless my heart, them big, and they supposed to be in school, and I'm like, oh Lord Jesus, what's about to happen? And then like you, they turn, they look at it and say, Mrs. Stell, I said, what you doing out here? Aren't you supposed to be in school? Get your
to school.
Go to school.
That's right.
All right, so listen, you guys do amazing work. We never give up. We don't give in. And if you need to dance, be able to dance with whatever shows up, because that's what they need.
Right. I want to personally thank John. This started on his show, then came to my show. I think this is a perfect example of what we're talking about. Perfect example when we talk about. We're all in this for the same reason, trying to do the same thing, trying to stop the violence and save the kids. So if we could just get this spirit out to everybody, I think it'll go a long way. So thank all of you for joining us tonight, and get some sleep, because you got to get up in the morning and get back out there with them young folks. Okay. See you later, you guys. All right. Corey, I'm sorry for
Good night, everybody. Thank you.